All right. Jameskii finally released a 52-page document about TwoMad, about all the information that he was talking about from when TwoMad, passed away. Rest in peace. God bless. So we're gonna take a look at it. To be honest with you, I was watching a TwoMad video. I was watching a guy. I forget the guy's name. Talking about him. It was well put together, and it was very clearly in favor of TwoMad. But I stopped it because it's a lot. TwoMad seems to be somebody who struggled significantly with mental health issues, and he might have been entertaining for a lot of people, but he seemed to be rough. He seemed to be somebody that a lot of people were not particularly happy to be around. He apparently derived pleasure from messing with people, but not in like a fun way. Sometimes he got a little crazy. I don't know. Like I said, I think, listen, man, people have mental health issues, and if they don't deal with them correctly, they become very difficult to be around. And it seemed like he was more interested in self-medicating. It's an unfortunate thing. So let's see what some of these files that Jameskii came out with. He made a bunch of claims. Let's see what we got here. This document delves into a critical analysis of TwoMad's crimes, both online and in person, that have profoundly impacted TwoMad's victims' lives. I urge the readers to approach the content with care and empathy. Please respect the privacy of the victims and leave them alone. Thank you. It's a content warning. We don't need to read through that. Who's TwoMad? He's a black guy, dude. All right. You don't remember TwoMad? TwoMad? What is wrong with me? Okay. To begin this document, I'm gonna zoom in a little more because I'm a little bit old. To begin this document, it should be clear that TwoMad owned both airsoft and real firearms. The investigation discovered a real Glock and AR-15 among prop weapons. TwoMad's fascination with guns and his drive to push legal and moral boundaries to see what he could get away with was public knowledge. Now, just to be clear, my understanding was that he would also paint the tips of his BB guns. So that's, airsoft guns, excuse me. So that's not good. So yeah, and I believe that because I saw TwoMad admit that he had real guns and fake. It's just crazy, man. Included below are private and public references of him using and being in possession of illegal firearms, as well as references of him trying to dispose of his guns. That's scary. Like I've done it once, I can do it again. But why? LMAO. What I did was demon shit. Relax. Look, I also bought an AR-15 and Glock during the period. Selling it now. I bought it because I was like, let me shoot holes in the wall. What are you doing? Okay, incredible. Apparently that's him. TwoMad's public reference to being in possession of someone else's firearms. Apparently I don't think we necessarily need to look at all the specifics references here. But apparently there is a...
Did you ever at any point actually show her a real firearm or not?
No.
Did you have them?
Okay. Perhaps.
All right, so yeah, that's him admitting that I legitimately had a firearm.
Were they yours or someone else's?
That was somebody else's.
Okay. All right. Shit. Huh. When you say they were someone else's, were you using them? Did you take them to the range or anything?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Where were you keeping them?
I was keeping it in the fucking the hurt locker.
What the?
Okay. TwoMad's public reference of him putting a loaded gun to his head. Wow, this is interesting stuff.
I had a friend say that. He was like, yeah, that's rock bottom. It's that's not rock bottom. Fuck out of here.
Yeah, rock bottom is subjective. Everyone got a different one.
Rock bottom. I don't even know what that is.
It's whatever the lowest you feel like you could ever go before being oh, I'm done. Yeah. Whatever drives you to your breaking point.
That's mania.
Kinda. I can fucking rock bottom, drive people insane. Manic. Make people lose it. Understandably.
Yeah, no, but you're right. The reason why we thought I was hitting rock bottom is because I had a loaded gun pointed at my head as a joke. It's obviously I'm not going to pull the trigger, but because she's a fucking woman, and women should just fucking can't calibrate shit normally. She can't realize that we do this with the boys all the time.
Okay.
Even though it frightens the fuck out of you. I've literally done this before.
Listen, I personally have never held a loaded gun to my head. I don't think the boys do that a lot.
It's funny. Obviously, if I had a happy girlfriend or marriage, I wouldn't feel the need to put a gun to my head for fun or whatever. But I don't have that.
Jesus Christ.
So?
This guy's very unstable. Okay. The Superior Justice Court ordered TwoMad to turn all turn in all firearms legally. If TwoMad had surrendered his firearms, he'd need to file a document stating that and notify all parties. This would incriminate him since he had them illegally in the first place, and none were registered to his name. The investigation found that he never surrendered his weapons and held onto them. This refusal to surrender them was brought up in court, but LAPD refused to take the guns despite the court's order. The judge also instructed the authorities to search TwoMad's properties, but the LAPD chose not to and implied that we should complain to court. You must sell or store with a licensed gun dealer or turn them into law enforcement agency any firearm, guns, and firearm parts in immediate possession or control. This will be done in 24 hours. Will be served. Okay. File a receipt with the court, 48 hours. Gotcha. Okay. Sounds good. Due to California's governing system, the LAPD can get away with a lot of misconduct. Here's an example of an LAPD officer refusing to act on TwoMad, violating the court's order in real time and implying that they will let him do it as much as he wants. They also refuse to enforce the order to take his guns. Interesting.
I know lawyers say like, "Oh, you need a police report." No, you do not. You can actually go and present your evidence and show that you violated a restraining order, and the judge will deal with that accordingly. Nothing's gonna happen until your day of the court. So you can violate it every day up until then, and nothing's gonna be done. We're gonna go over there and break the door down and take the guns. It's gonna be judge in court.
Okay, sounds like they're telling him to operate in a different legal capacity to get the guns away. Gotcha. Okay, I will further acknowledge the situation with the LAPD not enforcing the law later in this document. One of the biggest concerns was that TwoMad would take lethal doses of his drugs and go out of his way to specific locations in person as he wouldn't be thinking straight. X, TwitchCon incident, so category C felony, that followed after. I almost read the name. TwoMad, friendly Pokemon 333. Note, TwoMad changed his profile picture and display name repeatedly to confuse the authorities. I mean, we don't know if that's necessarily the reason why. He also just might have been engaging in some kind of erratic behavior. TwoMad had been reckless with drugs that make him aggressive, fearless while making him unable to remember anything that happened while he was in a psychotic state. I mean, considering he said he puts his gun to head for fun, he has a gun day Sundays. I could believe that he engaged in that erratic behavior. My understanding was he was definitely doing a considerable amount of drugs to the point where, like, the reason, one of the motivations for him not like trying to get rid of his firearms or something was so they didn't, I don't know, check the house and find drugs. Some weird shit I remember watching. He went as far as taking large amounts of Xanax on multiple occasions and had gone to a hospital after talking about how he's likely to pull a mixed skillet while high. I don't know what that means. Oh, his revenge on his victim, possibly to murder mixed skillet. What does that mean?
I'm still like madly infatuated with this fucking bitch.
Why?
Because it's like I touched her that one time, and then she sued me, and that's why I must get my ultimate revenge.
How much of this is like him joking, and how much of this is like serious?
Ultimate revenge.
Yeah, a lot of people like to scare themselves into thinking I'm like a harmless person. I could be, right? But it's worthwhile to do your due diligence to make sure that doesn't happen. But I think what's more, if I go into schizo mode for real, what's more likely is I'm going to do a mixed skillet or like getting a bunch of crimes before I go and commit murder.
Or try to avoid that.
I definitely try to avoid that.
Who's this?
100%.
That's good. That's good.
Mixed skillet killed a family while going high speed. Jesus Christ.
It's not the first time that like
This is got to be the most uncomfortable conversation for this guy here, because if he hangs up, that could be a big problem too. Wow. Okay. That is something. Mixed skillet drove his car. Okay, got over the speed limit and killed a bunch of people in 2018. That's terrible. TwoMad had openly and privately talked about his deep hatred towards me and other witnesses involved in his civil and criminal cases. On Christmas Eve, he openly addressed how there are people he wants to kill but are so far away. That day, he was told that he might end up becoming fearless and reckless enough to kill somebody in psychosis. TwoMad took even more Xanax. Despite the warning, he was administered to the hospital and was discharged anyway. You know, I can really see why people were like legitimately afraid of this guy. This is unhinged behavior, man.
Okay, other than the fentanyl thing, what should I worry about?
Getting addicted, because it's pretty easy to get addicted too quickly. Doing something really fucking crazy that you would have never done otherwise. Probably hurting someone because you're fearless enough to go do that.
What the fuck?
Yeah. People, if you have like any like deep like you hate somebody feelings and you want to fucking kill them,
Yeah.
you might kill them on Xanax. Like it's
Yeah, but they're so far away. It's like impossible. Like, how would I get there?
yeah.
Jesus
But
Christ.
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. There's other shit.
I should be okay then, actually.
I mean, why is this guy coaching him on doing drugs? It seems incredibly irresponsible. Who's this guy?
I'm gonna take a fuck on this shit though.
I don't do that. All
I mean, we're like 3 pages in, and I understand why these people are afraid of. We're afraid of TwoMad.
I'm gonna take.
I think it's another example of somebody with like incredible mental health issues. Not well, first of all, having too much money so he can completely engage in every impulse, and then number two, not dealing with it correctly. But still, this guy seems like he's terrifying to people. I can see why.
And see what happens.
Jesus Christ!
Is it half a one?
Mm-mm. I'll show you a photo.
Photo?
Yeah.
Okay, wow, incredible. TwoMad had repeatedly talked about not being able to recollect the actions and crimes he's committed, often changing his stories and theories. He claims he was unable to recall if he took drugs on days when incidents occurred because he would frequently black out, yet he could remember whenever he was whenever his drugs were missing. Okay.
Were there ever times when you would take ketamine and you just pass the fuck out and you don't even like remember? You get like a ketamine blackout?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Do you think that could like affect like how they would see
Like your recollection
as far as like your recollection and like you know are you a reliable narrator? Like she's mentally ill maybe, but you're doing ketamine all the time and having blackouts.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't blacking out that day. I blacked out in, like, the past. What ketamine did that day, if I was on ketamine, which is very possible.
If you were.
You should definitely try to
It
know
was
for
like a
sure
woozy
if that was the
thing.
case.
Yeah?
You should try to know for sure if that was the case. If you would have like
Okay,
some
yeah.
kind of like altering
Well, I
substance.
mean, I decided, like, yes, I was, for the most part.
Why does this guy's avatar talk? I don't know. Anyway, this guy is not a very reliable narrator. Narrator. What did I
When
say?
you basically like pointed the BB at her, was that like you were on ketamine type of thing?
Yeah, I may have been on ketamine that day. I think I was, but, yeah.
Jesus
Okay.
Christ. Oh, that was very short. Very good. Okay.
Okay, here's the question is like, you know how if you keep taking benzodiazepine, they you build a tolerance, right? And they don't work as well as they used to.
Yeah, that's the
Benzos.
fastest building fucking tolerance I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, that's a problem for me because I wanted to try it like twice, but the first time I tried it, I took a pretty normal dose, and then when I came back, the entire bag of Xanax was gone. So I'm like, what the fuck? I looked everywhere for it. It's just like,
And maybe somebody would like hid it from him or something. And I would too if it gives him like fucking if it gives you thoughts of killing somebody you hate.
this nigga's like, he took it all. I feel fine. Not really, but I'm like, okay.
Jesus Christ.
You took all of it?
Or
It was
did,
like 20 bars.
When?
did he take it all? Is that what he's saying?
Yesterday.
Damn. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Xanax never really worked on me the same way it does for others. I feel like.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Like I know some people say like 1 bar is enough or whatever.
1 bar is too much for me at the moment. But I also probably wouldn't be fucking up a football at the moment. Like right now. I haven't taken it in a while. Like 2 years.
That's the nice thing about having none is you can get more. If you don't spam your dealer, of course.
I'm happy I'm addicted to food and I'm just a big fat fuck and not a drug addict. Holy shit. This is insane. In early December of 2023, TwoMad reached out to the victim mutual acquaintances offering large sums of money in exchange for her work address. As a result, the victim had to quit out of fear of her for her and her coworker's safety. What the fuck?
Whatever the fuck, you should do that.
Okay.
We need to figure out where it works is the answer to the question.
I don't think it's possible. Why I don't think you should just have any connection with them.
Is that the person he was talking about how he hated them so much he wanted to kill them, or the person he was talking about how he loved them so much? This is fucking terrifying. Holy crap. The constant threats and harassment TwoMad resulted in the victims having to go on academic leave after he threatened to show up while posting where she was going to school. The school's professors have been aware of TwoMad's previous aggravated stalking in 2022 towards his sexual assault victim, which caused the victim to fail classes due to the stress caused. There were emails from 2022 sent by the victim to her teachers explaining why she was falling behind in grades, citing the reasons was because of stress and stalked and being assaulted. Jesus fucking Christ. Hi, blank. I'm attaching a copy of the ebook I was mentioning, The Smart Girl's Guide to Online Privacy, Practical Tips for Staying Alive, Safe Online by Violet Blue, which I've definitely picked up a few tricks from. I don't know how far you are going along your journey. Who the fuck is this? But if you ever just feel like talking, all students are welcome. The more evidence, times, and dates you can gather, the better. Wishing you many safe spaces. Sincerely, hi, Professor. I'm behind on work and wanted to give you a brief explanation as to why. In short, I've been dealing with a lot mentally. Apologies if this is TMI, but last month I was sexually assaulted and have been dealing with a stalker, so I'm a bit behind on my studies. I'll get the essay and along with the basket ASAP and be prepared for the debate next week. Sorry for the troubles. I'm sorry to hear that. Feel free to take some extra time for yourself. Okay, great. Hi, Mr. Blank. I apologize again. I was on track for class today, but serious issues regarding the previous situation came up, and rescheduling an urgent meeting with the school's therapist and security staff. The stress of missing classes is concerning me, but I don't know how to clear the absences. Is it possible to make up points for missing the debate? Also, thank you so much for your previous email. I hope that all this blows over soon and I can get back to okay. Jesus. In private, TwoMad's friends told him on various occasions that they were not going to give him the victim's work address, so when TwoMad briefly stopped pestering them about it, this conversation happened. He says, I'm going to fucking kill that bitch.
So you've dropped you've dropped the harassment idea.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking kill this bitch. Are you stupid? No, I mean, I don't mean to say stupid. What?
Come on, man. Just let her go.
What do you mean? Come on. I understand that you're in the end game of life when you've just begun, and you don't have any anger towards anyone ever. But like, you have to understand, I'm not fucking married like you.
Why did he want to kill her? What the fuck? Now deleted tweets for approximately 3 hours time frame within the single. Okay. Oh, great. That doesn't exist. Okay, I can't really do anything with this here. Or did they? Okay. I'm a K her fam. Oh, these must be the tweets. These are the screenshots. TwoMad had found the home address of several victims as well as the family addresses of one of the victims. He'd make threats about it and would send packages to the family's house mentioned above. He doxed one of his victims on numerous occasions on Twitter. In addition, he wouldn't stop posting her full name, photos, work store name, and school location. In order to protect the identities of the victims, I will only share public tweets referencing him wanting to put information on YouTube. So, like, it seems that some of the information we're not going to get valid or verification on because they can't show it, which could mean that it's fake. But so far, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, we're talking about somebody that is, like, talking about killing people on drugs with guns. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. This guy needed, like, family or something, man. This is crazy. Will dox too. Can I get banned on YouTube for posting full names in title, thumbnail, and gay bars? Try it and figure it out. I'm going to get reposted like crazy anyway. Lawsuit went nowhere. I got doxxed and outed as weird. I have to go to work now and live with this. I don't know if it was worth it overall because he still has a career somehow. What was he talking about? Interesting. TwoMad stalking wasn't limited to in-person stalking. TwoMad made countless accounts to stalk his victims online. The Superior Justice Court explicitly ordered TwoMad not to make alternative accounts to stalk his victims, which he immediately violated. Here's a tweet referencing him being caught. What the fuck, lawyers are really good at research. I still ain't settling. Also, bitch, you got like 20 views on your stories. That's why you found my alt. Ha ha ha. Jesus, okay. So he's admitting that he's still, I mean, I don't know. I guess some people would consider it stalking. Others would be like, oh, I want to stay in the loop. She probably blocked me. I don't know. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Here's him talking about the victim's IG story. He was actively stalking every single post from her by using new alt accounts after being blocked many times over. I feel like my Starbucks job needs more gays. What? In an undertoned, seemingly but probably not forced guy voice coming from a tiny girl oozes, I'm mentally ill and my job is just don't give a fuck about it. Is sucking my soul out, my body, and counting the clock down at work makes me want to quit. But it's a hard to find new jobs. What the fuck is this? Like, I would watch that. Okay. TwoMad found out the victims was working at Starbucks on his own. Incredible. Jesus Christ. Was this what came after somebody came, like, is this the stuff that came forward after he made that weird, like, video talking about some kind of he was reading off some kind of a list about being inappropriate with a girl? This is fucking crazy. Now deleted tweet with photos of the victims he was actively stalking. Okay, so the tweet's probably deleted. Yeah, okay. Quote, TwoMad owns that mouth. The what? Is that the person? Is that his like name? Is that what the fuck the thing is called? I don't know. TwoMad. Okay. Okay. Quote, TwoMad owns that mouth. The BLBL, whatever thing she did when I took her virginity was crazy and swallowed. Look at that gigantic scribble in her description. So calculated and cringe. Dressing up in a Halloween costume before Halloween, self-reporting you don't like your moron friends. The post in question included multiple photographs of the victim. She had just posted on her IG. Okay. Prior and during the active civil case, TwoMad went out of his way to stalk witnesses and his victims in person. Again, during TwitchCon Las Vegas, TwoMad made ominous threats towards me and the public. To my knowledge, he didn't explicitly make a public statement that he planned to shoot up the convention center, and I have no idea where that rumor originates. Okay, I don't know if he originated the rumor or not, so I can't speak to that. For all we know, Jameskii did originate the rumor. I don't know, but I just don't know. However, he did make numerous concerning threats, some of which directly reference me and other people he had a deadly grudge against. I wouldn't doubt it. The convention center and the public. Let me see if I can zoom this in a little more. What? I can't. I don't think. Am I ugly or something? I think I'm just ugly. The convention center and the public were aware of the threats before I had a chance to speak to any first responders. When the threat began, I was told to urgently talk to people at the central station, where they acknowledged that the sheriff and convention were already aware of the situation. According to the investigation, TwoMad was actively looking for me specifically, but implied to others would also be affected, using me as the reason. The investigation also determined that he was in a state of psychosis during his last live stream before going to Las Vegas, and that he talked to himself saying things like this. Oh, Lord.
If you just keep asking, they'll give it to you. Like, I already probably said, I'm doing that shit again. I'm gonna get fucking killed by some person. Like, they'd be like, I hate this guy. Fuck! No, what?
Okay.
Bullshit! Fucking you, me! No, I don't mean to be mean, but like, I have a thing against like women. What? Facts, bro. That's true though. Like, for real. Nobody asked type shit. Kill. Mario! Kill? Who? You know. Burn them all. Fucking lawyers would say anything. No, I'm going to jail now.
Oh, interesting. The fuck? Okay. Public Twitter quotes. Mr. Pokemon 33. I'm going to accidentally say it on accident. I'm going to fucking be pissing myself. I will take you down with me. I will take you down with me. Do everything I can to get back up before you do, and I'll do everything I can to shape up so karma never catches me. The ultimate revenge. Also, what's with people who are vulnerable to the masses, hating them fucking with the one guy who has a chip on his shoulder to really do some damage to you with zero remorse. Sorry, the way he's typing is fucking moronic. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. With zero remorse in the most creative way possible. I'm not an easy opponent. Why would you fuck with somebody like me and expect it not to backfire publicly? Jameskii, stop using this girl or you'll regret it. The good news is I won't kill myself like Etika. I will permeate Ethiopian magnificence like a... Okay, it's just kind of being a little racist there. You get one life, and you gonna be looking back mad as hell for all the things you didn't do because you cared what people who don't care about you think. Don't wait for me to say it. Please stop. Don't pray for my downfall. I have waited lifetimes to find you. This is my final I love you. Note, he went oddly quiet after the series of threats. The threats resemble the trope of mass shooters' final social media post. I don't know if these are explicitly threats. These are like ramblings, but with all the pre-context, I could see why they would interpret it as such, right? So like these by themselves, I look at this, I'm like, okay, this is just like a rambling idiot crying about dumb shit. Again, sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful. But with all the other stuff, with the guns and everything, I can kind of start to see it. I'm assuming that this has to do with whatever situation was going on with that girl. I had covered that like a year ago or whenever it was. Okay. TwoMad's deadly obsession with me was only getting worse over the years, to the point where he'd sometimes slip and say my name out loud for no reason during live streams.
Avoid controversy, challenge impossible. 5 nights of Jameskii, 5 minutes to Hitler.
What?
5 nights of Jameskii, 5 minutes to Hitler. Challenge impossible. 5 nights of Jameskii, 5 minutes to Hitler.
You said 5 nights at Jameskii? Okay, interesting. There was a rapid police response, and I was told that my house was unsafe. As a result, we were forced to avoid the home area. And my friends, who stayed with me at the time, had to look for different places to spend the night. None of us could go home. Police sent extra patrol to my house, and in the following days, the convention center was surrounded by idling police and SUVs. Why did that happen? Same. My group and I were staying with James, and we had to find another lodging. This whole situation had been a disaster for a long time. The convention center itself had increased security, and we saw more officers patrolling the premises. There was a public references to this on Twitter. I was aware of police being involved over threats made around TwitchCon, but wasn't expecting it to be this bad. Sucks that the victims won't be able to get true justice since TwoMad decided to overdose. Wow. Okay. But at least this can be a time of healing for those involved in the incident. We were told to not bring up the situation to the public, and I was put in touch with counter-terrorism unit via direct line during the incident. I spent hours of my time with the police that evening and night. Is he able to prove that more than just saying it? Because that is insane. Let me know how cops go. Yep, with police right now. 6:20, and I'm dealing with this, still with police. During that night, the authorities deemed it necessary to shelter me at a remote location to ensure my safety. I was allowed to leave their custody at around 6:30 a.m. Prior to that, I was housed by multiple friends and creators who referenced it on Twitter. This is a lot, but yeah, I witnessed firsthand TwoMad's threats on James live during TwitchCon. He couldn't even go home because he knew his address and was en route to Vegas after the threats. He had to use our hotel room to hide out while waiting for law enforcement. If this is all true, I mean, this is fucking terrifying. I do wonder where this obsession really started. Like, why did they hate each other? Because it's oftentimes like when somebody with, and I would obviously characterize TwoMad as somebody with insane anger problems, is that their anger existing is justified, but the proportionality of the anger is absolutely unjustified. And so, like, what started all this? Did he fart in his underwear? Like, what is it? And I'm like obviously a little ignorant to like the whole story. I don't know the lore behind Jameskii. But didn't have something to do with TwoMad making fun of him for saying he came from one country instead of another country, something stupid? Like, where did this start? Does anybody have the context of that? Can back this up too. He was scared for his life at the partner lounge during TwitchCon Vegas and talked to security at the event because of threats made. Okay. They were both obsessed with each other. However, TwoMad was mentally unstable. Okay, I wouldn't doubt that. Note, the talk to security was after the counter-terrorism unit got involved. The talk was only to notify the active patrol that I was the person being protected, as they'd only seen my photo. He outed him as not being Russian or something. Yeah, that's what I remember, right? Tectone, I have also witnessed the attempts on Jameskii's life during TwitchCon. Police were involved, and he was afraid for his life. I stayed with him for a couple hours just to make sure he felt safe. It's worth noting that during TwoMad's psychosis, he messaged nearly every person he had contact with to inquire about people's locations. Since he was banned on Twitch, he offered to pay large sums of cash to swap badges to enter the premises without getting caught. Jameskii had it out for TwoMad all the way back in 2019. Like, in what way? Drowsy. What's up, brother? How you doing? Not sure where it all started. Yeah, I wonder where it did. You meet me at TwitchCon. Also, do you know anyone there, like literally anyone there at all? Doesn't matter who. Also, separate question, can you help me find someone with Twitch entry badge that I can borrow just to get in? $257 and only if I find adept. All right, great. I think this was played off like maybe it was just a joke because he was cackling back and forth and kept lowering the price or something. I don't know. They're Chris 2019. Seems like they still had beef. Okay. Well, they should be like normal people and just not talk. Although I guess I won't be talking anymore. I had to wait for a while to be updated on whether it was safe to return home. It's also something to note because I remember seeing somebody say that these were just jokes. It's also something interesting to note, though, that if TwoMad is somebody who seemed to be funny, he was an entertainer, he might have been able to play things off as like half a joke, half serious kind of a thing. Anyway, I had to wait for a while to be updated on whether it was safe to return home, and I spent most of the time at a friend's group Airbnb the next day. The investigation found that TwoMad did not use his primary legally registered Tesla with a real license plate to enter Nevada. Okay. The investigation was aware he had two nearly identical Teslas, one of which he bought via private sale and wasn't registered to his name, making it more challenging to track him down. Is that real? Jesus Christ. Making more challenging. Okay, right. However, I've been told that after TwoMad realized the level of police response to his actions, he decided to drive back home and make ominous paranoid posts with various threats at the end. Prove you give a single one fuck about life, let it go. You're in control, you're aware. This is urgent. You have a responsibility, and get the fuck out of my life forever, or you regret it for the rest of your life. Jameskii, you have a hand in this too, possibly more than she does. Restraining order can kill. So I'm assuming this is about the whole incident that was going on. Yeah, like I'd said before. Holy fuck, today was wild. Probably the most crazy day of my life, hands down. Holy shit, I'm going to take your breath away. I will say that, like, regardless of the reason why, I mean, it's certainly unhinged to do this behavior. I mean, if he had some kind of restraining order and she made this allegation online, I can understand why it would be distressing. But, I mean, to go in it this way and go, like, this is unhinged. I mean, tracking people down, trying to, like, engage with them like this is fucking crazy. Just, do you reckon they'd have someone stand at the TwitchCon door and try to swipe my friend's badge off me if they caught me? I wouldn't let them take it and just leave with the badge, and I'd just try again at most sporadic times, though probably lawyer up even if I have a 5% chance of winning. Might get a judge who agrees with me. Okay. While a separate restraining order technically protected me against TwoMad, as I was a witness in the case, the authorities I mean, at least they were going through this in a legal capacity. Right. Long-time viewer, first-time enjoyer. Thank you. I appreciate that. He's a fucking asshole. You know, which is one of the big criticisms. Like, I know it can be hard to go to the police, but I mean, go to the police. You know, it seems that's what they were doing. Anyway. The authorities told me to obtain a separate personal one from my state ASAP. Having a personal restraining order from the state I live in granted higher protection and response time. In the case of TwoMad showing up to harm me, I would explicitly define the places he could not visit, such as my work, home, or areas I frequent. It would specifically define that. Okay, I filed a petition referencing the TwitchCon incident and TwoMad not surrendering his firearms, as well as a valid reason to fear for my life, primarily due to false swatting calls in the past. Swatting will be brought up during one of the hearings later. It's important to note that TwoMad's possession of a real firearm was fully confirmed at the time, and I remember seeing him say that he had an actual firearm. So, as well as the fact that he wouldn't surrender them. I was told to include that information in the petition by the investigators and was advised to attach all public photographs of TwoMad with what was suspected to be real firearms. Firearm gun. Does the adverse party own a gun or have a gun in his or her possession or control? Yes. While TwoMad had used real firearms in malicious ways in the past, during the TwitchCon incident, TwoMad hadn't directly threatened to use a firearm, and the counterterrorism told me to check the box clarifying that. It's worth reminding that, once again, at no point in my petition or public statements have I said he threatened to shoot at the convention. I guess that was somebody else. Protection orders aren't given out lightly by the court, so the case for it was scheduled. TwoMad attempted to avoid the court summons service, but was tricked into coming outside by a professional who provided TwoMad with the necessary paperwork he needed to be for the hearing. I served the party, person served, fee for the service. During the protection order hearing, upon discovering the information from the investigation, the court granted a full protection order to the for the longest term allowed by legal code, which with the ability to request an extension before the expiration date. Okay. Finds that stalking, aggravated. Okay. So the court finds that stalking, aggravated stalking, and or harassment had occurred or has occurred. No, legally, harassment is a severe criminal offense, not just someone being a jerk online. True. Gotcha. This is the source that he's. I mean, this guy's got his fucking sources, bro. Yeah, he's got his fucking sources here. I'll take your word for that one, brother. I imagine harassment's just not just being a silly little goose online. Hey guys, I've been said I was a silly goose online. Without lawful authority, the person knowingly threatens to cause bodily injury in the future. The person to the person threatened or to any other person, to cause physical damage to the property of another person, to subject the person threatened or any other person to physical confinement or restraint, or to do any act which is intended to substantially harm the person threatened or any other person with respect to his or her physical or mental health or safety. And the person by words or conduct places the person perceiving the threat in responsible fear that the threat will be carried out, except with the provisions of subsection 2, 3, or 4. Okay, are applicable a person who is guilty of. Okay, for the first offense is guilty of misdemeanor. For the second offense is guilty from gross misdemeanor. Okay, the penalties provided in this section do not preclude the victim from seeking any other legal. Okay, great. So this seems to be legit, I guess. Violation of the protective order that was granted to me. Okay, category C. Violation of the order is a crime. You, the adverse party, are notified that you can be arrested for violating this order. You can be arrested if the person who obtained the order invites you or allows you to contact him or her. You have the sole responsibility to avoid or refrain from violating the terms of the order. A violation includes, but is not limited to, the contact in verbal form, electronic, social media communications. You are further notified of the penalties violation. Any person who violates it, extended order gets charged. Punishable by imprisonment for no more than 5 years and a fine of not more than $10,000, which he probably had quite a bit of money, so that probably didn't feel too threatening to him. Each act that constitutes a violation of the extended order may be prosecuted as a separate violation. Interesting. Which means if he did like 2 different forms of contact, he would potentially go to jail for 10 years and have to pay $20,000. That didn't stop TwoMad later, so he was on the hook for it. It wasn't the first or the last time he actively looked for his victims. Offenses, violence, I don't know what that is. Is that violent? Oh my God. Stalking, harassment, expo. I don't know what those specifically mean. Apparently he did those things. Domestic violence, premises entered. Jesus Christ. TwoMad had committed numerous sexual acts, including intercourse. By legal definition in California, rape is categorized under the sexual assault offense. He was supposed to be arrested by the authorities and prosecuted by the DA for several crimes, but his passing happened before they were able to do so. TwoMad was under investigation for a very long time before his passing, including before the primary restraining order of the case. To be very clear, the criminal cases involving TwoMad are completely separate from the civil ones. In addition, restraining orders, civil cases can't result in jail time. Okay, these are completely separate. Interesting. Wow. Jesus Christ. That being said, violating a civil restraining order is a criminal offense since it goes directly against the court's order. So it's got the permanent restraining order, civil case, and then criminal prosecution for multiple felons by the government. Okay, wow. The government handled the visual evidence for sexual assault in a separate criminal case. The civil restraining order only included the information necessary to protect the victim, not prosecute TwoMad. The authorities don't casually give out information about criminal investigations to strangers, let alone provide the public with sensitive evidence submitted by the victims. However, the DA had access to a large amount of proof of TwoMad's doings, including videos TwoMad had secretly recorded of him committing some of the crimes against his victims, included SA. By February, the investigation had access to everything necessary for the prosecution, and it was just a matter of time, a matter of putting the paperwork together and issuing the arrest warrant against TwoMad. There were no lawsuits, neither from victims nor the witnesses. There were no lawsuits at this point, so I don't know if we can't personally verify that this is real. It could be fake for all we know. This person seems reasonably credible, but we can't know for sure because they're obviously not going to release that information. There were no lawsuits at any point. TwoMad and his friends fabricated a lie to slander the names of the people he's hurt, and at no point during the 6-month period had TwoMad been able to provide any evidence to support his made-up claims. It's interesting because earlier we saw him talking about killing people, et cetera, et cetera. So, he's definitely unhinged. I wouldn't doubt he engaged the behavior, but I guess we don't really know. It is possible he decided to take his life intentionally, though, because everything kind of built up on him. TwoMad used the illusionary truth tactic. What the fuck does that mean? Is tendency to believe false information to be correct after repeated exposure. This phenomenon isn't okay. So if you just continuously say something over and over and over again, people begin to believe it. Gotcha. Cool. And claimed there's a lawsuit over and over in order to make his fans parrot what he was saying, even though they're incorrect. Many people are not qualified to accurately discuss legal documents as they have no idea what they're talking about and don't put effort into actual research before presenting their opinions as facts to the unaware. I witnessed a concerning number of fabricated stories based on carefully picked bits of information to make their versions seem legit. This is extremely dangerous and has caused issues for real-world investigation problems. Timeline of notable legal events involving one of their restraining orders. At the beginning of July, the court issued a restraining order against TwoMad. The whole point was to protect the person he was trying to physically hurt. I want to make it clear that the order was in full effect and was just simply not permanent. Okay. Gotcha. So they had a restraining order. TwoMad hired a criminal lawyer, not a civil one. Interesting. Okay. That's another thing to note. That means that there has to be if it's a criminal lawyer instead of a civil lawyer, if it's like a criminal case, it means that the government has information on it that is probably more there's more substance to it than just a civil case. Did I see Tipster on X is declaring war on Boogie? No, I didn't. Do you want to send me something about it? You can and DM me, okay? Thank you, Sleepy, for the $2. I appreciate that. TwoMad could plead the fifth during the criminal proceedings for his case, including SA. However, the testimonies from the civil cases can still be used against him. Thus, TwoMad's main objective was to stall the civil case as much as possible to avoid the testimony and discoveries. The legal code okay, interesting. Interesting. So there's a civil case going on, there's civil case, and then there's the criminal case. So he was trying to stall the civil cases so that anything said there couldn't be used in the criminal court. Interesting. Very interesting. Legal code allows parties to request a continuance for the hearing. Okay, California law courts. Okay, so you got continuance. Just means that you get more time, right? Okay. Continuance means postponement. Yeah, got it. No problem. During the first hearing, both we and the respondent agreed to the continuance. Usually, the restraining order hearings are postponed for no more than a few weeks, but it's entirely up to the judge. The judge can give a 2-month continuance, as in the order will still be in effect, but the hearing regarding making it permanent was moved to the end of September. Gotcha. Expiration date equal date of the hearing. It adjusts dynamically. Gotcha. Okay. IIRC. The date was chosen by TwoMad and his lawyers. We simply agreed to do it due to respect and expectation that TwoMad will not try to make things worse. Okay, stipulation counsel. TwoMad used the entirety of every single continuance to play video games all day long. He live streamed himself playing Overwatch at least 44 times since the permanent restraining order case began, threatened witnesses to do with his cases, including those who had to physically restrain him from hurting one of his victims in the past. TwoMad's closest friend at the time had to physically intervene to help one of the victims escape. TwoMad stated chasing her. Once his friends helped the victim escape, TwoMad took a photo of them standing visibly disappointed to taunt them afterwards. You think in a few weeks I'm going to forget about you talking down with me? Bro, even if you send the screenshots, I'm going to make sure your name, face, everything is on there. And the video, even if it's taken down, will be uploaded so many times. F-slur, wake, almost read it, Jesus Christ. Wake the fuck up, send screenshots. Yo, DJ, career already dead. We chilling. Okay. Messages he sent regarding them testifying in the court case. Gotcha. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, this guy's fucking unhinged. He was just having this interaction with his friend in that video that we watched where he was like, his friend was like, yo, chill out. When he was talking about killing somebody. I believe it was killing somebody, right? Intimidate more victims of his past predatory behavior in order to prevent them from coming forward publicly and testifying in court. Interesting. Ugly, stupid YouTube man. Non-stop calls and threats. Great. What the fuck, gamer? Bunch of words, some slurs. Pick up your phone. I'm going to kill you. Or I'm not going to call you millions of times. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction. He didn't say the kill it part. Sorry, I read that wrong. Interesting, you always, no matter what, pick up and shit, but when I get canceled, radio sounds very mentally ill, just like her. Okay. Yeah, he seems to be fucking out of his mind. He had also intentionally violated his restraining orders multiple times. The way he did it made each instance a felony, not a misdemeanor, as in multiple instances were separate of each other, separate, and each one would count as its own felony in this context. Gotcha. Okay, we kind of read about that before. I don't think that we need to read these specific things here. I must find a young girl to entrap and sexually control. The horrifying part is that he was doing all that while preying on new, unsuspecting victims, primarily targeting young girls and those who were unaware of his past. How did this all start for you guys? If you don't mind me asking, of course, we matched on Tinder. Yeah, that's what happened to me. We got on my Instagram. Okay, I don't care about this necessarily. Well, I mean, like, I do, but, like, if they're on Tinder, they're legal adults. You know what I mean? TwoMad was 23. Yeah, I don't. Okay, I don't necessarily care. Unless he did something to them, I don't care that he's matching with people on a dating profile, so you have to be 18 or older to match. He publicized himself doing a lot of it as well, both on live stream and social media. He didn't just do it online or over the phone exclusively. He even went as far as to meet some of the girls in person. TwoMad meeting in person. Are these random people? Like,
see, I get bitches. See?
Okay, so he met up. He met up with girls. I don't necessarily care about that. Okay. There was no way to defend them, as all public information about their restraining order cases are. Was he not allowed to date? Was that part of it? I don't understand. I don't really get it. Notice, moreover, and perhaps more importantly, there is a pending criminal investigation for very serious strikes offense, such as respondent is forced to invoke his Fifth Amendment right. Okay, and cannot proceed. TwoMad has lost his civil cases in full. He's also been a drug addict for years and didn't just start ketamine recently. You can easily see references to it. Alibis from his ex-friend, and the now deleted video where he published for his Patreon supporters. Interesting. Okay. 13 minutes of me high on ketamine. That's from 2021. Wow, incredible. TwoMad created a false narrative to twist the entire situation, lying about everything for months. His facade was basically that his evil ex is just mad and is now suing him for money, despite the fact that the particular victim in question was never in a romantic relationship with him and that they only knew each other for a short period of time. There was never a relationship. It was made up by a delusional sex offender, and his false claims were shut down by a judge. Interesting. He was simply delusional. The reality is that TwoMad is a physically violent sexual predator who went after the most vulnerable victims, and he went out of his way to hurt them more to silence them, leading to the victims seeking protection from him while the DA was preparing the paperwork. The prosecution was also entirely made up by TwoMad. That's why it was in quotes. In an attempt to discredit the victim in the public eye. The investigation fully debunked it, including the fake messages he posted on Twitter that his fans took as gospel at the time, which is brought again up later in the document. Wow. Also, there was literally no money involved. There wasn't a single lawsuit. He made all that up to poison his fans against the victim in an attempt to save himself, as the victim had the most evidence against him. All that was public record. Is that referring to when, like, wasn't there a claim that one of the girls he was with, he was like paying for sex? Or was that like a lie? What do you think of Twitter celebrating his death? Do you think he deserves his hate? I don't. Well, based on this, I can see why people would hate him. Like, personally, I don't like Twitter. I don't really want to validate or invalidate what's going on Twitter because I think it's an obnoxious cesspool of human garbage. But I could see why people were angry at him. You know. Number 5, civil case cover sheet. This form tells the court basic information about the type of case you are filing. How to file for a CM harassment restraining order. In the top section, write your name. Okay, great. Unlimited civil cases also include other types of disputes that do not involve money, like cases to resolve or quiet, title to repeal property, cases asking for civil restraining orders, and requests to change your name or your child's name. Basically, an unlimited civil case, and any case that is not limited, a limited civil case under the definition of a... Okay, gotcha. Legal jargon. That particular case was about the judge-signed court-issued restraining order. Okay, well, we have a filed Superior Court of restraining order against this guy, Muda Sadiq. TwoMad can tell lies to his fans all he wants, but the factual information would always debunk it. Interesting. Going back to the case timeline, right before the September hearing, days before the scheduled date, the defense, aka TwoMad, and his lawyers say that they will not proceed on the agreed Tuesday date, citing some non-sense excuses primarily related to sudden unavailability. Despite the fact that they chose the date 2 months in advance, right? So they're just trying to push for multiple continuances to avoid going to trial. Okay, so that they can misalign the dates, right? They want to get the civil court date after the criminal court date, so they can't use the information from the civil date into the criminal one. That's what I'm assuming, if I'm reading this correctly, and I could be not because I'm stupid and fat and ugly. They attempted to push another continuance to avoid the hearing, but we didn't agree to it. On September hearing date, TwoMad realized he would see the victims in person. He panicked and decided to hide in the courthouse's cafeteria on a different floor instead of showing up in the courtroom itself. Is he in there? Okay. While the hearing was supposed to take place, as everyone else was present, he was clowning on the court and the judge, trying to make a circus out of the whole situation. Once again, he did all that while hiding away, as he was too afraid to look into the eyes of the people he had done irreparable damage to. Since everyone else was present, the hearing took place, during which it was brought up that TwoMad was purposely making the victim's life a living hell while simultaneously making a circus out of this. They also claim that they are unavailable, yet TwoMad showed up at the courthouse, but not the courtroom itself. Watching Death Note to mentally prepare on the most mentally prepare on the most effective way to make this bitch jump out of her skin in the apartment. No, TwoMad targeted the family house of one of his victims after posting this. What? Just the situation aside, TwoMad was actively making it difficult for his victims to come forward and testify, especially as the hearing dates were getting closer. So glad she had the courage to share what happened, but yeesh, holy shit, dude, it's fucking mental, and had all of us scared for her, literally caught in 4K. That's the victim's roommate. Just hoping on here to say, TwoMad is a piece of shit who assaulted my friend and stalked her, would not leave me alone and others. My dear friend knew and is a genuine danger to women he talks to, and it's proven by his behavior. If you support him, never speak to me again. I mean, considering he talks about how he doesn't like women in some of these clips, I wouldn't doubt it. The way that he talks about women is it's very school shootery. Not to be rude or fucking intense, but this shit's fucking intense, man. Stupid. Okay, this is something he's calling this person. Bro will not leave me alone. Okay. TwoMad's lawyer requested another continuance due to a separate criminal case, and the judge issued another 2 months to prepare for the next hearing. Okay. Great. Pending criminal case. The judge had also increased the distance TwoMad can get near his victim. The judge deemed it necessary. We didn't request the increase. Interesting. Once again, the restraining order was still in full effect, and the rescheduled hearing was only to make it permanent. Okay. Since it takes a moment before some public records become digitally accessible, TwoMad used it as an opportunity to weaponize and lie about the outcome, making it seem like he won a made-up lawsuit. Full physical documents available ASAP. Okay, gotcha. According to TwoMad, the judge looked at it and just threw it away. He even claimed that the victim didn't show up. Thus, this added fuel to his false narrative, leading some fans to believe it initially without critically thinking about it. I'm here and ready to face plaintiff. Ends up she didn't show up. Guess she wasn't confident like she thought in her case. Wait, I won the court case that only got a restraining order. Woo. That they was asking for 25 to 50K and jail time. They only got a restraining order for my and her safety, which means she can't contact me or talk about me anymore. Pog. This guy was literally hiding in fear, looking into the eyes of his victims, and was the only person who didn't enter the courtroom for the hearing itself. Notice that TwoMad isn't listed in the public records minute order document. Interesting. The minutes are just like recounting who talked in there. Interesting. He also intentionally violated the order again within an hour just to taunt his victim, which is, once again, a separate criminal instance that leads to criminal... I mean, honest, I'm not trying to be... Listen, I wouldn't doubt that he took his own life to avoid whatever consequences he was going to get hit with, because this is insanely damaging. This is fucking insane. If all this, and it looks like he's got his fucking T's crossed and I's dotted, if all this is legit, TwoMad is... We're only halfway through. This is insane. TwoMad was a truly troubled individual. I'm not saying it lightly. I mean, he's a terrifying individual to be around. I don't doubt him at all for going through this. I don't know how this all started, but this is fucking insane. This is insane. Enforcing the restraining order. This order is, and frankly, I mean, I don't know. Maybe maybe that's best for everybody. I mean, I don't think any a court order or law thing or anything was going to stop him from whatever obsession he had with these people. Honestly, so this order is enforceable by any law enforcement agency that has received the order, is shown a copy of the order, or has verified its existence in the California Restraining Order and Protective Order System. If the law enforcement agency has not received proof of service on the restrained person, the agency must advise the restrained person of the terms of order and then must enforce it. Violation of this order are subject to criminal penalties. I have an active and enforceable restraining order in place that has been approved in full and signed by the judge against TwoMad. The hearing was rescheduled, and that is all. It is a TRO petition, not a lawsuit. I won. Judge only approved restraining order, and that's the rest of the claims. Bro just broke the restraining order. Incredible. That would be a breaking of the restraining order. The new hearing for the permanent order was rescheduled for December 2023 to make the existing order permanent. TwoMad had several cases, but he would keep talking about this one in particular because he knew that the victim had the most evidence of him being a serial criminal and to derive the public's attention from everything else that was going on. Wait, I won the court case. Okay, they only got okay. And they just said, no, you didn't to what he said. TwoMad was purposely stalling out the victim's testimony because he knew that not only would the eyes of the law be aware of crucial details about his actions, but the public would also be able to see them. At the time, he knew that if he continued dragging this out, it would hurt me financially. That probably makes sense. If I say remove lawsuit 30 times, will Jameskii remove lawsuit? What if I say trial can cost up to $500K to $1 million? I mean, that is going to be information that contributes to the concept that he's just stalling for money. I'm firing my lawyer, so Jameskii is the only one who loses money. LOL. He knew that if I couldn't afford to pay, I would not be able to shelter his victims in person away from him, and he would be able to create a different narrative to try to avoid the consequences in the public eye. Throughout my experience, TwoMad they should honestly take money from his estate and give it back to Jameskii. I don't really care. Throughout my experience with TwoMad, his actions cost me over 6 figures in damages over the span of 5 years for this case alone due to him purposely making it complicated for everyone else. I had to sell my car so that I could afford to protect all the victims to begin with. Legal fees aren't cheap. And considering how much stuff he was involved with, he was trying to hurt me by any means necessary. Unsurprisingly, his actions put me under a financial burden I will address later. Whichever, fucking idiot keeps spam calling me with no caller ID, talking about federal investigations and shit, please do me a favor and find a door at McDonald's, order a McChicken, and then throw it up your asshole. So far that you enjoy it more than you ever enjoyed eating from your mouth. To give some perspective, okay, funny joke, haha. According to him in the investigation, he spent at least $50,000 just to drag out this one particular case alone and planned to spend even more. Not the others combined. Minus $150K in 2 years, LOL. To no one's surprise, he lied. I mean, like, I would see if he could sue this guy's estate. Jameskii should see if he could sue TwoMad's estate and try to get money from his estate. Because this is fucking wild. To no one's surprise, he lied to the public on many occasions and went to great lengths to manipulate the narrative, making it more believable to his fans and confuse creators who haven't kept up with it. He would frequently say how much it cost him and imply that he was being sued for that exact amount. Interesting. Bro, if I was confident where my money was going and why I wouldn't spend $50K to do some fast and loose charity, the girl problems, weird, extortion, angry aggression, vindictive, revengeful lawsuit funded by grudge-holding mega loser. No money was ever requested, and everybody knew that, as everything was public records and would always showcase TwoMad was lying. However, certain creators were misled to believing TwoMad's narrative or purposely led to their viewers to create a story. During the time, this hearing in December, he continued to make the victims and witnesses' lives a living hell, including mine. He constantly violated the restraining orders against them in different malicious ways, which led us to bring up the court issue. Why didn't they just fucking arrest this guy so much sooner if he's constantly violating it? It's fucking wild. Why didn't the victim go to the police? Again, the LAPD was extremely lazy at the time and wouldn't do what was in their power. They almost never followed up on reports. Southern California police in general are notorious for their misconduct and for not doing anything in their power until it's too late. If you check the Wikipedia for the article alone, section about their corruption and misconduct. Okay, interesting. Independent investigative commissions have documented a history of police brutality, corruption, misconduct, and discriminatory practices within the LAPD. In 2001, okay, interesting. I wouldn't doubt that the police are being fucking lazy. Okay. Interesting. They might actually not be doing their job. That's an immense problem. There was even an instance where TwoMad made one of the victims flee as he was targeting their family house in real time. Initially, even though the situation was happening in the moment, the sheriff didn't want to take the police report because the initial 911 call didn't come from the address. What? That address. What the fuck? Interesting. Wow, how obnoxious. Later that day, they took the report but told us they would not act on it because it was happening outside their jurisdiction. So why wouldn't you just move it over and... Okay. So apparently they were here, which they called their, and I guess the call location was here. But they, I don't understand how any of this works. How would you just call 911? So it shouldn't matter where the 911 goes, right? Like you don't call like a 911-2 for a different fucking jurisdiction. Oh, I see what happened. So that since they were in the jurisdiction of the other thing when they placed the call about their home, they're like, well, that's not our jurisdiction. Your home is in the jurisdiction of another. Okay, great. So why not just pass that over to them? Incredible police work. TwoMad's official home address. Okay, so there's different police jurisdictions. LA County has over 40 separate police departments. They told us to go to a different department, which they then sent us back to them. So it became a game of hot potato with them pointing fingers at each other, but refusing to act on it. It's always the same loop. But the order is from X, the predator lives in Y, but the victim is in Z. One of the examples of the hot potato. Interesting. Jesus Christ. Funny how they don't talk to each other. You know? They just tell the people to pass it back and forth. It seems like they don't care. The court instructed the police that they were supposed to arrest TwoMad, but the authorities always argued that it was a different police department's job. This is the definition of weaponized ignorance and incompetence. The instances provided throughout this document are just a few examples. There were countless instances that were way worse. The Superior Court had authority over the LAPD, so the court ordered the instruction to arrest TwoMad upon violating the orders. Restraining order in civil matter, but a violation of criminal. Okay. The court had no real way to know that LAPD is not enforcing the order that was given to them. The proper formal legal way to address it is a file contempt paperwork, which in simple terms just means that you're notifying the court that the order is being maliciously disobeyed, needs to be enforced. It requires a lot of paperwork, and it's not taken lightly. The courthouse had to verify all the information before they scheduled any hearing. The contempt hearing was primarily focused on TwoMad committing multiple felonies, not only by endangering people's lives in person, but also TwoMad trying to dispose of illegal firearms that he owns and was ordered by the Supreme Court illegally. Interesting. You were ordered to appear in the court as following. Okay, gotcha. Interesting. I'll make it very clear for the last time that the investigation into his possession of illegal firearms was conducted by professionals in real life, not Twitter detectives. The existence of real firearms had been proven many times, and authorities were just trying to figure out where they came from. TwoMad tries to dispose of those firearms, and it made the investigation significantly more complicated as well. Most criminal investigations and legal matters often take years. For example, the legal processing that caused McSkillet's tragedy was only recently concluded after 5 years. TwoMad definitely has issues, I'm sure. He's done some bad stuff, but Jameskii's word is questionable to me since he's had it out for TwoMad or any allegations. I mean, listen, maybe. The problem is that this document is full of like proof that they went to court. There's tons of, unless all of that was faked. It's possible that all this fake, but this guy has a considerable amount of evidence that what he's saying is true. I mean, he's showing us clips of TwoMad talking in different people's podcasts, saying threatening things. He's showing us like police reports. He's showing us, filed court documents. I mean, it could be fake. You're right. It's fine to question that, but I don't know, man. This seems pretty legit. Now, imagine how complicated it was. The end goal from the lawyer's perspective is to destroy the supply and not the customer, because you will only solve one problem and not the source of many. I think it goes without saying that it's obvious that if there is somebody out there who can supply firearms to psychopaths like TwoMad without being noticed by authorities, that is a huge source of problems. That's why the investigation into TwoMad's firearms was so extensive, and the main reason is nobody talked about. Okay, gotcha. So they're trying to get to the source of who's selling illegal firearms. Gotcha. It's public knowledge that TwoMad was fascinated with doing illegal activities to see what he can get away with. It was an actual addiction, and it had only gotten worse over the years, resulting in many victims who are real people. Unfortunately, some fans kept looking for excuses of his actions, mainly by blaming others, who are often the real victims of TwoMad. Their reasoning is just parroting what TwoMad said. They claim their information is facts, when it is, in reality, it's just opinions presented as facts. I understand that people may speculate and make wrong assumptions based on the limited amount of information compared to what the authorities had, not all of which disclose any public records, as it is a completely separate matter that the DA was preparing on their own. The contempt was only focused on the LAPD not doing their job of enforcing the order. The reasons why the police departments would not enforce the order varied from incompetence to actual confidential investigations. But even with the investigations, it was necessary to enforce the order to confiscate his guns to protect everyone involved, as his psychotic behavior progressively became extremely unhinged throughout the year and put people's lives at risk. TwoMad included. Okay, so his own life was put at risk. I wouldn't doubt that. The court reviewed everything related to the contempt hearing, paperwork confirming that it was valid. The court scheduled a completely separate hearing from the restraining order case about 3 weeks from the day it was approved. It would certainly be a very comprehensive fake if this was fake, but everything kind of checks out. The first date is the hearing of the contempt case. The second date is a rescheduled hearing of the permanent restraining order. Okay. TwoMad's lawyer agreed in writing that he will provide the service to TwoMad regarding the contempt hearing, saving us thousands of dollars, since TwoMad was already caught hiding away from the authorities, as he knew about the severity of the implications and how much trouble he was actually in. To him, it was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when he would be arrested. This also makes you wonder why the defense scheduled remote appearances for that hearing. Okay, remote appearance scheduled, filed by respondent. The criminal matter. That criminal matter hearing turned into a circus. The defense had the audacity to claim that TwoMad was unaware of this hearing, despite TwoMad's lawyer accepting the service and the defense scheduling their actual appearance. The most unexpected part is that not only TwoMad's lawyer showed up, but also TwoMad himself via a phone call, as in TwoMad called to the court. Gotcha. Well, okay, great. When TwoMad's lawyer realized that he was here and wanted to talk, he implied continuously that TwoMad should just shut up and plead the fifth. He even explicitly advised him in front of everyone not to answer the questions. At one point, his lawyer had to intervene directly to stop TwoMad from talking, telling the court that they shouldn't ask him questions because he lacks competency. The judge had to address that the defense changing their mind about the situation was inappropriate. It was also brought up that there was no paperwork done regarding TwoMad being notified about the situation, yet they still both showed up. And TwoMad's lawyer explicitly said he was only representing him that day, while he also claiming that he was no longer obligated to do so. He didn't want to do anything with the shit show moving forward. Wow. I think he meant to say he didn't want anything to do, but... the judge ordered that paperwork to be provided regarding TwoMad's lawyer's acceptance of the service and rescheduled the contempt hearing to the same day as a permanent order hearing, which was supposed to take place in a few days. Okay. From my personal understanding, the reasoning is that TwoMad's lawyer indicated he wanted to be out. Legally, TwoMad is entitled to have a lawyer, so the court provided the continuance to find him a new counsel. Gotcha. I wonder if that was like a legal strategy. The continuance was scheduled for the same date as the permanent order hearing, most likely because it would be more accessible for everybody involved to have everything done in one day, assuming the hearing takes place and doesn't get another continuance. Contempt, not held, continued. On the final hearing day, TwoMad's lawyer addressed his situation with TwoMad to the judge, acknowledging that he wanted to do nothing with him and left, as in TwoMad's lawyer literally walked out, leaving TwoMad by himself. Interesting. It must have been very difficult to... deal with. Nature of proceedings. Okay, gotcha. This matter is called for hearing. Okay. The issue now was that due to the circumstances and now the legal system, how the legal system works, TwoMad was entitled to a new lawyer and able to get another continuance to drag out the case even more. We retracted the criminal contempt hearing from the same day so we could do it another time and proceed with. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that this was like a strategy that the lawyer even recommended, to one, get a new lawyer so you can get a continuance, and two, try to go with some kind of angle of like pleading insanity. I wonder how much of that like shit show that happened in court was planned and how much of it was just TwoMad being like engaging in like a really neurotic or unpredictably, whatever behavior. We already knew TwoMad was going to be arrested regardless. The government was already preparing everything necessary for the prosecution. The criminal investigation had nothing to do with the civil case, and criminal contempt related to violating the criminal order. The amount of financial damages TwoMad caused already exceeded 6 figures, and his deliberate malicious actions put me in debt and forced me to live paycheck to paycheck. We couldn't drag this out any longer. Okay. Pursuant to stipulation, the order to show cause recontempt is dismissed without prejudice. Without prejudice means you can refile the case at a later date. Gotcha. Our decision to proceed with the contempt hearing on a different date doesn't nullify everything else. The pending felonies remain separate. Okay, the DA was preparing everything to prosecute TwoMad for his crimes, no matter the outcome of the civil case. Since we chose to proceed with criminal contempt on a different date, we could finally proceed with a civil hearing that day without any additional continuance. The hearing transcript is confidential, copy restricted per government code. We were clear to disclose some of the information to the public. TwoMad swore under oath. The clerk, do you both solemnly state this testimony that you may get? Okay, great. It's just him swearing in, stating his full name. There's a transcript. Or it's allegedly him. My first name is Muda Sadiq. Great. The victim testified to the court and addressed the sexual. I mean, this could definitely be true. It looks like it's legit, but it also could be like a fake. Like, I don't know what the fuck this is. It's just a paper. It doesn't, it's just like a different font. I wouldn't doubt that it's like whatever the documentation of the hearing is, or the documentation of the hearing is. Where I forget what it's called, but the person types it out. I forget the specific name of the person. The victim testified to the court and addressed the sexual assaults, including but not limited to coercion via intimidation. In the testimony, mentions of brandishing firearms, violent threats towards himself and witnesses, as well as targeted threats towards her family involving TwoMad sending obscure packages to her family's home were brought up. TwoMad's history of swatting was introduced, and the definition of swatting and doxing was provided. TwoMad attempted to make the same false claims he made online against the victim in court, which were immediately shut down by the judge. He had to be reminded he was under oath, and afterwards he did not deny any of the claims brought up against him. He provided no evidence to the court to refute her claims, despite having months to do so, so he realized that the investigation already knew what was happening. The investigation and legal always knew that TwoMad's evidence that included messages, photos, and audio were fake. There was a stack of papers thicker than a book that would describe how and what kind of artificial evidence he had created, including him creating fake chains of text messages conversations with his victims. Interesting. Huh. I know the last person you want to hear this from right now, and that's fine, but I wanted to say I am sorry for how I treated you. I really am. I was an asshole and a dick. You didn't deserve that. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. It was wrong of me to do that to you. So, oh, great. So that's Barack Obama. Guys, fantastic. Note, all to count TwoMad made was an edited apology from Obama after he was blocked to get the victim's attention. Okay, TwoMad was never discreet about cheating or creating artificial evidence to obfuscate the truth. Guys, I'm going to make up a bunch of extra bullshit because if I'm just being honest about what happened, people might take it seriously. So I'm going to ramp up the severity to 100 because I'm a smart as fuck, literal, or like astronaut. The investigation was fully aware that the evidence TwoMad would showcase on Twitter was also fake. Why the fuck would he announce to people that he's going to create fake shit? Smart guy, huh? Bro, and the Jameskii AI voice I commissioned and will like pretend is my fucking Batman earpiece in vlogs. Imagine I'm the Best Buy, put my finger in my ear to call the lawyer because I slipped on a fucking laptop carrying case, and Jameskii's voice goes, TwoMad, we have potential to litigate here for XYZ. Great. At this point, the judge asked TwoMad for his defense, and he read a statement written by ChatGPT that the judge instantly shot down. TwoMad was caught lying via objection and was reminded that he was under oath. After this, he didn't fight the claims, so he wouldn't dig a deeper hole. Your Honor, I think we should remind Mr. Sadiq that he's under oath. I think he's aware of that, counsel. Okay, I gotcha. These are just respondent equals TwoMad. Respondent, yeah, I don't really have anything to say. Okay, if this is true, that's fucking wild. So yeah, if this is true that he had nothing to actually say in the court, because apparently he said he had nothing to say as they reminded him that he's under oath, he didn't try to do any information gathering, which effectively proves Or if this, again, if this is verified, if this is true, this would effectively prove that he had no intention of actually trying to generate information and needed the continuances, and what he was actually trying to do is just stall. So again, Jameskii should sue his estate if he can. TwoMad was not harmless. He wanted his victims, including myself, to be dead. During this hearing, TwoMad fully realized that the government knew everything for a long time and not just the supporting evidence for the restraining order. For the civil case, the burden of proof had been met, and the order was made permanent to protect the victims from TwoMad's violent retaliation towards his victim for tipping off the authorities. He was going to be arrested by the government, completely separate from the civil hearing. Keep saying the government. This is like weird. Okay. You must not do the following things to the protected person: harass, intimidate, molest, attack, strike, stalk, threaten, assault, sexually or otherwise, hit, abuse, destroy personal property of, etc., etc. You basically cannot be within 100 feet of them. You cannot touch them. You can't talk about them. You can't do anything. That's what it sounds like. I don't know about the talking about them, but yeah, you can't contact them in any way, shape, or form. You can't go to their job. They have to stay 100 yards away from their house, their job, school, etc., etc., etc. TwoMad has repeatedly admitted to sexual assault in public via social media and live streams. Interesting. What do we got here?
Hey, TwoMad, quick question. When you tried to give weed, was it to sort of ease her? Was it to sort of ease her into finally giving you coochie? That's for 5 from Pull Bun.
I think so. Yeah, I feel like that's obvious though. Right? Like I don't usually I've never done that before. But that's kind of why you do drugs. Like I remember when I was like 14, I was like a girl rejected me and I was like I should smoke weed.
I don't really know what that proves. It sounds like he's saying he might have tried to give a girl drugs to fuck her. Okay. I don't know, to lower her inhibitions, I guess.
I'm not saying you're guilty or not. I haven't looked into your case. I'm gonna look into your case after I'm done with this Bryant case.
I fucking did it. Fuck him. I'd do it again.
You know, bro, but you know you can't, bro. They're gonna use this in court.
I can. I know they can use it. Fuck y'all. I'm sorry. Okay, my bad, dog. You know. Well, I'm paying my lawyer top dollar to explain it to them. That's just humor and funny. It's just.
How'd it feel to do a photo shoot with Bella Delphine?
I threw her off the bed. I was very uncomfortable.
I don't know what that proves. That's just him being fucking. I don't know if you would. Those aren't really explicitly admitted to sexual assault. I don't think, but. Yes, she refused to have sex with me for months, and I touched her inappropriately and demanded sex. Yes, I did do those things. It's not criminal coercion, lol. I'm not her boss or coworker or teacher. If you're just a guy, then you can be like, suck my dick or get the fuck out, stupid bitch. They don't imprison you for that's normal. What the fuck? She refused to have sex with me and for months, and I touched her inappropriately. So I don't understand this. I wonder if he's trying to say it like a joke so that he can have a reasonable claim in court to be like, oh no, I just make humor out of this is okay, great. I only raped her once. Again, like I wouldn't doubt that he's trying to make this into a joke and like actually admit that he did a bad thing. And I'm not saying that he did rape somebody, or sexually assault somebody, but he might have been trying to play it off as a joke. This way, he thought he can go to court and be like, "Oh, it was just a joke. I make edgy, dark humor." You know, I don't know. This is obviously a very intense, complicated situation. TwoMad was well aware of the consequences in private for years too. This is the last effort I'm going to make for you, dude. You sexually assaulted somebody. I covered for you and wrote your apology in exchange for you saying you'll get therapy, and then you flat out told me that there was a lie after she forgave you. You're displaying insane mental illness, and you need to seek psychotherapy. I can't make this any clearer to you. If this goes any further, it's going to ruin your reputation. Note, this message was in the screenshot to the left, sent to TwoMad from TwoMad's best friend at the time. Can you tell him to chill? I mean, do you think he's wrong, though? I was like, oh, shit, friend, about to cancel me. Whoa, Twitter fingers. Do I think he's wrong? Well, I don't think I'm insanely mentally ill. I understand the sexual assault, but I mean, if this is verified, this is TwoMad admitting that he raped or he sexually assaulted a girl. Okay. But yeah, all understood. You should ask him to clarify if you don't get what he's saying. I do get it. Wow, Jesus. TwoMad's apology. Yeah, right. This seems to be a big part of it. For the next 60 days, under all facets of interaction will blank online, the person Mudo agrees to not to entertain sexual activity, etc. Mudo will not. I mean, listen, we looked through this, and it sounds like my initial, interpretation of this was wrong. It sounds like, apparently, according to this, if this is credible, and most of this seems to be credible, it could be lies, but if it's credible, then he did sexually assault the girl. Yeah. It's not an official agreement. TwoMad wrote, "This is an attempt to salvage the situation and undo the damage. The victim had TwoMad blocked and did not agree to this. The photo of the contact TwoMad sent included the metadata of where and when the photo was taken, which showed he took the photo at his old house. TwoMad, how about I just kill all of you for ever making me feel threatened for my career?" Wow, very poetic ending. "My reason to do all this was to protect the people from a violent predator. I've been protecting victims of online predators for a very long time, and we have successfully brought consequences for every single one of them so far because it was handled accordingly. Unfortunately, this particular instance was publicized in a very misleading way by TwoMad and his fans. Everyone knows Jameskii sued TwoMad." Okay. "It's difficult to follow because the law is complicated, and it wasn't just limited to California. It involved multiple countries, states, and jurisdictions. This is not the court of public opinion. This was a real legal criminal matter. There were real victims, and it was addressing a lot of stuff to the public, extremely complicated as it is. It's important to cover that this public knowledge that TwoMad had repeatedly expressed predatory behavior towards real children, and its full severity of it can be addressed for obvious reasons, or can't, to protect the vulnerable. Oi, you're in LA, let me SA you with a minor." Listen, I don't know how, this is the problem. I don't know how much of this is and isn't a joke. I wouldn't doubt that it's a TwoMad tactic, if all this stuff is real, to downplay everything as a joke and try to make a joke out of everything, so that he can kind of blur the lines between what was actually true and what was just a joke. I don't know if he did mess with kids. I don't know, or minors. I don't know how old he was, how old they were. It's obviously very complicated. "He passed away before the DA was able to prosecute him. That's why it's not a criminal record. So please do not speculate about the identities of the victims, as I've seen a large amount of wrong assumptions that could cause a lot of harm. There's a limited amount of information that I can provide to the public that wasn't public from the beginning. Still, I'm allowed to say that he was supposed to be arrested and tried for several felonies. Putting everything together required immense work for many departments in numerous jurisdictions. It often would only take one department or officer to mess something up through slowing the entire process down for everyone, or thus slowing it down." Oh, gotcha. So this is like how they would need to work with all these jurisdictions, and then this person fucked up, so then the information going to go to here, they couldn't go to here. Gotcha. Just to give you an example of one particular instance, a criminal case of his series of sexual assaults was slowed down by over half a year because a specific police department forgot to forward one case number to a different department, which needed it to pass the complete case to the DA. That police department in question would never return calls. It wouldn't cooperate with other departments in various jurisdictions either, which made the DA unable to proceed with anything else until they got the case number. That's pretty fucked up. W police, am I right, guys? They just needed to confirm the existence of the case number, which wasn't appearing in their system. Once again, the police department that was supposed to give it forgot to do so, or was simply lazy. Jesus fucking Christ. As if people need more reason to hate the fucking police, huh? "The double jeopardy clause in the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution prohibits anyone from being prosecuted twice for substantially the same crime. There was also an instance where the detective didn't click on the correct link that had necessary information that needed to be forwarded to the DA, thus stalling out the timeline for another 2 months until they were questioned if they did everything right. I understand that many people who paid close attention to the situation may have realized it, but I figured they'll say it directly. I did not celebrate his death. I feel relief knowing that he didn't end up taking the lives of innocent people, but this wasn't the proper closure. It was quite the opposite. It was primarily known behind the scenes and not publicly, but we saved his life multiple times. We actually managed to prevent a tragedy on numerous occasions, but unfortunately, the very last time we were too late. It goes without saying that the LAPD was fully aware of TwoMad's situation and didn't do enough of what was in their power. TwoMad did not become an evil person just because of drugs, and the amount of damage he's done to victims, both physically and mentally, cannot be undone. The drugs made things worse, but they're not the main cause of his problem. He's done a lot of horrible things way before he got reckless with hard drugs. The drugs only made him more reckless and fearless, so please don't use drugs as a blanket to excuse all of his actions, but acknowledge the issue as it is. Please do not be mad at those expressing genuine thoughts on the matter. A lot of his real-life ex-friends tried to help him or cared about his well-being. However, recognize when someone is actually just milking the situation and purposely portraying the whole story to gain something out of it. I don't know how TwoMad manages to maliciously condition his fans to unquestionably believe everything he says, even if the facts are right before them, but it's always been the same exact pattern, except now the implications are much more severe than ever. TwoMad wasn't just being edgy, he repeatedly hurt people physically and weaponized fans' ignorance to save himself from consequences. He purposely hurt his victims to gain something out of it and then hurt them further to suppress it. The biggest reason many of the situations weren't being brought to public at the time was because it was a severe and complicated matter that put people's lives at risk. It wasn't some petty drama. And TwoMad being awful was never a secret. We've been working with the police for a long time, and everything that public needs to know in the eyes of the law has been publicly available. It takes little to no time to research, and anyone can look up keywords on TwoMad's Twitter or watch his live streams to see what was going on as he was being read as an open book. It was not a character. Wow. I highly respect people who have done their research, acknowledged or independent research, acknowledged the situation without dragging the victims' names into it, and called out certain people for trying to sway public opinion by purposely omitting facts or making shit up to make fabricated buzz news at the expense of TwoMad and the victims. I guess this is one of those individuals that did it. I don't know who is this guy. It's called Jameskii's Obsession with TwoMad. It's an interesting thing. Because there was a lot of public. Did this guy remove his video? Wow, I just spelled Jameskii so wrong. It's an interesting scenario. Interesting. I'm looking. I guess he was reacting to this video. Jameskii lied about TwoMad. This is, I think, the video.
These pictures to a.
Oh, I watched. This is the video that I watched, and I turned it off because it was so bizarre. Yeah, this is interesting. This is the video I was watching.
These pictures to a friend because.
And as I was watching this, I was like, "There's something off about it," because in the beginning, this guy himself shows a clip of TwoMad admitting he has firearms, and then later in the video says TwoMad never had any actual guns. And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He said that he had guns in the literal thing. So I was like, "This is kind of ridiculous," and I was confused. And I was like, I'm turning this off. This seems like not a great source of information. So yeah, I mean, I guess this is the guy that's getting called out. Okay. Those are real victims with real lives and families, and some of those clowns are being dragged out. I'll just say that you left out James' second tweet longer from 2019, where he debunks all the claims with provided evidence. Interesting. I'm concerned that most people are now conditioned to think everything is just online drama. In reality, some situations are incredibly dire and must be handled accordingly. Lastly, I respect people who realize that they may have accidentally misrepresented facts and acknowledge that they were wrong. It doesn't matter if a small details or massive facts, the proper way to think and respond. Anything related to TwoMad, past, present, and future will be limited to this Google Doc, and I don't believe that my channel is the right place for this kind of stuff. I kindly ask people to respect that and leave the victims alone. Don't bring up any names, photos, and don't speculate about their identities. Be responsible. Thank you. Okay, so we read through the entire document. I'm going to say that the information seems extraordinarily credible. Could it be false? Sure. And if somebody comes forward with that, then we will retract immediately. But there's a lot of information here. There's a lot of clips to support what they're saying. There's a lot of seemingly court documents to support their name. There is friendly Pokemon 33 here. There's a lot here. And from what I've seen, and of course, I could be wrong, but based on what I've seen, all this seems incredibly credible. And it seems like TwoMad was not a good person. It seems like him taking his own life is unfortunate when anybody does that, but it's probably for the best. I don't mean to say that to be crass, but he was deeply flawed with deep mental issues that was completely against actually wanting to get it taken care of by going to a therapist. He was self-diagnosing. He was self-medicating. He was constantly saying incredibly inflammatory things. He was holding a gun to his head at one point as just a joke. He thought that the fact that he even thought that was normal joking behavior shows an immense problem with his mental capacity or his mental ability to interpret the reality of the world. So, yeah, man, I don't know. There's a lot here. This is pretty fucked up. I wouldn't doubt it. I think there are a lot of people who are defending TwoMad because, I get it. He was a funny guy that brought a lot of people a lot of entertainment. And if his life had gone down a slightly different path, he could have still been here with us, not being somebody who seemingly displayed incredibly disturbing behavior. Right. And so it would have been nice. It would have been nice if his mental health problems got caught earlier. Part of that would have been nice if he never was popular or famous, because that gave him the ability to play into his addictions. All I could say is this is a tremendous amount of information. If it's not true, I don't know. I mean, then I'll retract, like I said, but this seems to be legit, and it's an unfortunate scenario. So hopefully people that he harassed can get peace. Hopefully he gets peace now. Hopefully his family can somehow find peace. And hopefully we can look at this as an example of how people act when they become famous that have mental health issues, because they have sometimes too many resources to be able to act on their bad, we'll say, desires and inhibitions. Right? And under different circumstances, he might have been a very good person. But here we are, and it's very unfortunate. And lastly, I don't blame Jameskii for, if this is all true, for Jameskii for coming forward and saying what he said when TwoMad passed away. To be absolutely honest with you, you know, terrible stuff.